Coming up on MMA Live, down goes Bigfoot. The Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix has been trimmed to its final two. Highlights from the semifinals in Cincy are yours straight ahead, and it'll be a big one in the Big Easy as welterweights Jake Shields and Jake Ellenberger get ready to do battle on the Bayou. MMA Live starts now. So which Jake are you back in? Welterweight contenders Shields and Ellenberger collide Saturday night. That is your main event in New Orleans. Both men have spent the bulk of their careers in the win column. Shields trying to get back there as he makes what is his third UFC appearance against the streaking Nebraskan Jake Ellenberger. Now we take a look at Ellenberger's last 5 fights. He's won 4 straight since a split decision loss to Carlos Condit that really could have gone either way. I know Kenny Florian and I will never agree on that fight. And just before joining the UFC, he took a Bellator fight on 24 hours notice against Marcelo Alfaya. June of 2009, went on to knock Alfaya out in a mere 42 seconds. And now we are privileged to be joined on MMA Live by the UFC welterweight contender Jake Ellenberger. Jake, good to have you with us. So we mentioned the tear you've been on since the close fight with Carlos Condit. How were you able to build upon that performance and get on this current winning streak?
You know, it's really been motivating for me. You know, after I fought Carlos, you know, you don't like to lose, and you know, just use that to motivate me and fuel the fire. So just really use that to push forward and work hard. You know.
Hey, Jake Miguel here. You know, you're a beast in the cage. What do you think your keys to victory are against Shields?
You know, really, with a guy like Shields, I feel like I really have to keep my composure in this fight. And you know, if I can really, I feel I can control where this fight goes, and I can dictate how this fight's going to end. So I think really controlling where this fight goes is going to be the key.
Hey, Jake, there are a lot of issues going on in this fight. Obviously, Shields' father's passing, but you also have had to deal with a comment that Shields made regarding you, that not knowing who you were for a guy who's a very accomplished fighter in this promotion. You didn't take kindly to that. What's your attitude going into this fight now?
To be honest, I really didn't pay any attention to that, to what he said. I mean, I know he's going through a tough time, and you know, it was sad to hear about his loss. So, you know, he's going through a tough time right now, and it's unfortunate to lose anybody, you know, in your family especially. But, you know, he showed that he's a professional, and he's staying in this fight, so I respect that about him.
All right, well, Jake, justified or not, some other welterweight contenders, whether it's John Fitch or even Shields, have taken criticism at times for not finishing fights. Now, here you are, you finished 21 of your 25 victories. How much of a priority is that for you, not just to win, but to also be exciting and try to push the pace and pursue the finish?
Yeah, I think it's really important, especially, you know, if you're trying to be a world champ and showing that you deserve that shot. I think you know, at the end of the day, winning does matter, but I think, you know, we're also in the business of entertainment, so I think it's finishing fights. It really, you know, it shows that sense of urgency. So I think it is important for you know, for moving up that ladder and marketability as well.
All right, well, you've had a lot of pro fights, yet you're still in your mid-20s. Any added pressure for you fighting in a UFC main event for the first time?
No, I don't think so. I think it's no more more pressure than usual in a normal fight. But you know, it's definitely an honor to be a part of the main event for the UFC.
All right, Jake Ellenberger getting that first taste of a UFC main event Saturday against Jake Shields in New Orleans. Jake, we look forward to the fight very much. Good luck. Thank you for joining us here on MMA Live.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
All right, man. All right, let's get to the tail of the tape now for Shields and Ellenberger. You see the MMA records there are very similar. Shields has won 15 of his last 16. Ellenberger, the younger party here, I guess about 6 years. Shields is junior. He's won 4 straight, 8 of his last 9. And we mentioned the finishes. 16 of his 25 career wins have come by knockout. All right, it is John and Miguel Torres, Franklin McNeil with you here on MMA Live. So you've got the heavy heart versus the heavy hands here. You heard Franklin touch on it, and Jake Ellenberger as well. Jake Shields fighting 3 weeks after his father and manager Jack Shields passed away. What's the biggest challenge for a fighter in trying to rally through that type of adversity?
I mean, anytime you have a huge loss like that in your life, and especially it's your father and your manager, you know, you want to do right by him and you want to win your fight. You want to train hard, but it's twofold. So it could hurt you really bad and it could mess up your training. And so I think it's going to be a rough thing for him.
Everybody grieves differently, you know, but you're looking at a guy in Jake Shields whose father was hands-on in his life.
Yeah.
He's going to look over in the corner at some point in that fight Saturday night and not hear that voice, not see that face, and it will have some impact on him.
Things are going to get rough, and when he does that, you know, you look for that inspiration, and that might not be there for him, and that might hurt him in a bad way.
Well, he'll be certainly fighting for his father on Saturday night. And in terms of the strategy, I know Jack won't be in his ear. What is the strategy for Jake Shields against Ellenberger?
For Shields, not to stand with him. You know, Ellenberger's very heavy-handed. He can take a punch. I think he needs to get the fight to the ground and capitalize on jiu-jitsu, but that's going to be a rough task.
He's going to have to mix up his attack. He can't just be the Jake Shields of old. We're going to see a lot of what we saw with George St. Pierre, even though Ellenberger's stand-up is a little bit different. He's more counter-puncher than just jabber, but he's going to have to continue to mix up his game. He has been working on his boxing a lot.
All right, well, Jake Shields, 26 victories. Half of them have actually come by decision. That includes his last 3, his last UFC win coming against Martin Kampmann, what was his UFC debut. But don't let that fool you, because from 2007 to 2009, Shields actually had a streak of 8 straight finishes, included 6 submissions, got very strong guillotine, a nice rear naked choke, and we'll be trying to get that jiu-jitsu game going against Jake Ellenberger. Speaking of Jake Ellenberger, you know, many believe this will be the night where he vaults into top 5 welterweight contender status. Miguel, in terms of the stand-up game, is there a clear advantage for Ellenberger?
I mean, I think there's a clear advantage because he can control where the fight goes, standing up on the ground, and he knows he can do that. And I just think he hits harder. You know, he hits harder, and he's not afraid to take that risk to get inside, and he knows he can stop the takedown if he gets caught in a bad spot. So he's going to be swinging for the fences, and he's going to be swinging with accuracy. 2
things. I agree that he definitely, Ellenberger has the advantage standing, but I also think this is his time. This is the worst time to be fighting Jake Ellenberger. This is a guy whose stand-up is improving every day in his wrestling. Let's not overlook that. This guy's on the roll. I think he's going to be a top 5 welterweight.
Yeah, not the most submittable guy in the world either. Right?
Exactly. I mean, he's a young guy looking for respect, and the way he's going to get that respect is to be a champion.
Never been knocked out, only been submitted once. Jake Ellenberger and Jake Shields. That is your main event. We'll get predictions later, but now let's show you the rest of that main card shaping up in New Orleans as we go rapid fire. Court McGee, you see that winner of season 11 of The Ultimate Fighter. Here he faces the South Korean Dong Yi Yang.
You know, I think this is a comeback fight from McGee. I think he's going to go out there and he's going to show the world, you know, where he's been. He's been injured and he's back, and he's going to take care of business.
You know, the thing about Court McGee, we know about his wrestling, but let's not forget, this guy's a professional boxer, too. So even though Yang has to win this fight standing, he's going against a tough guy in Court McGee who's well-rounded.
All right, McGee's won 7 straight. That includes both of his UFC fights by submission. Now, also on the main card in New Orleans, pretty intriguing featherweight tilt here. You've got another Ultimate Fighter winner, Jonathan Brookins. He faces Eric Koch.
You know, Koch is one of those fighters that I love to watch. He's going to go out there, he's going to, you know, try to knock out his opponents, and I don't see anything from his opponent stand-up-wise.
Yeah, the UFC did not do Brookins any favors in this fight. Eric Koch is an awesome kid.
Yeah, that's a beast right there.
He's a beast. It's going to be a tough fight.
A lot of people fancy Koch as a potential future #1 contender in that featherweight division, maybe even a champion. Only loss against Chad Mendes, and that was by decision. All right, the card also marks the return of Alan Belcher. First time in a long time, hasn't fought since May of 2010. Franklin, he faces Jason McDonald. What do you see here?
You know, I like Belcher. I mean, I just want to see how he starts off, you know, with the eye problems. But, man, it's kicking crack, and that's going to be tough night for McDonald.
It's a hard fight for me to look at. I love both of these guys. I know them both. And, you know, if McDonald can get the fight to the ground, you know, it's going to be a tough fight for his opponent.
All right, Belcher coming back after emergency eye surgery. Pretty big stand-up advantage as we got the talent versus the athlete. All right, we are just getting going here on MMA Live. Straight ahead, don't call him an alternate. DC is in the finale. The man in his way, though, kind of a handful. We're talking Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix next. It's MMA Live.
Generation. And he might be the greatest talent that we've ever seen in the UFC. John Jones! Rampage Jackson! UFC 135, sponsored by UFC Personal Trainer on ESPN.
Back here on MMA Live, Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix continued last weekend in Cincinnati, and in one semifinal, it was Daniel Cormier, guys, upsetting Antonio Bigfoot Silva.
And the biggest thing, I think Bigfoot just underestimated Cormier, and he didn't respect his punching power. He just thought he was going to go out there and shoot, and he got caught with a big, hard punch.
Miguel, this fight was all about Daniel Cormier. It doesn't matter if Silva respected him or not. This kid showed me something in the stand-up. Having covered boxing so many years, he's in position. He's sitting on his punches, and that wrestling we know about. That boxing skill is going to carry him a long, long way in this sport.
Well, he's coming out of AK, that training camp. All the guys that fought tonight, and just in the previous history of their fighters, they all wrestle and they all know how to strike. And just that whole camp is solid. So whatever they're doing up there, they're doing a good job.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we knew about the speed, and now, of course, the power on full display. You see, undefeated in his MMA career at 9-0, and here he knocks out one of the consensus top 10 heavyweights in the world in Bigfoot Silva. All right, so then DC sat back and watched as Josh Barnett took on Sergey Karatanov, and it will be Barnett joining Cormier in the tournament final.
Barnett's one of those fighters. I followed him my whole career. I've appreciated his game. I watched him mimicking him, and he did a great job this fight. Came out there, took the fight to the ground where he needed to be, and he put his submission clinic on.
He's just a more well-rounded fighter than Karatanov. In the stand-up, Karatanov hit him with some good shots. Barnett took the fight where he needed to take it, got rid of him.
One of those guys, he can keep his composure when he's in, when he's in that heat of the moment, and he can, execute his game plan, which is take it to the ground. Yeah,
Barnett's an absolute bull there. Certainly has the great finishing instincts, and Karatanov capping almost as quickly as I would have once Barnett locked in on the side head and arm choke there. All right, so here is where the tournament stands for you. Cormier, as the replacement for Alistair Overeem, will face Josh Barnett in the finale of the Grand Prix. Cormier did suffer a broken hand in the fight with Silva, so no word as to when the Grand Prix will be completed. But when it is, as we look ahead, it will be the relative newcomer versus the old veteran Barnett with more than 35 professional fights. And for Cormier, this will be just his 10th MMA appearance. What is the early forecast for the final?
I love both guys. I'm a bigger fan of Barnett, so I have to go with Barnett on this one. I just think he has more experience, and he's going to be able to execute his game plan.
It won't matter, baby. I'm going with Cormier. I really believe in this kid. What I saw of him against Silva convinced me this kid's for real. Barnett's not taking him down like that.
Really amazing, though, what the last 12 months have held for Daniel Cormier, a guy we talked about as sort of a prospect, even though he is in his 30s. And now here he is facing, one of the top 5 or 6 heavyweights in the world. I know you think the ceiling is high for Daniel Cormier. How good can this guy be, really?
I mean, he's as good as his training partners can be, and he trains with some of the best guys in the world. So it just depends on if he stays healthy, he heals up right, and he can train right for his fight. So it just all depends on his health.
You know what's scary about this guy? As great as his potential is as a heavyweight, this kid might be fighting at 205 one day. That's scary. That's scary to me.
No, I'm with you.
And a lot of people at 205 as well.
All right, well, you mentioned the American Kickboxing Academy, and speaking of which, also part of the Strikeforce Fair last weekend, Jacare Souza putting his middleweight title on the line against the little-known Luke Rockhold. Well, the fans certainly know who Rockhold is now, as he takes the decision and the Strikeforce belt.
I was screaming at the TV the whole time I watched this fight. Rockhold, the great game plan coming off the bat. He knew that Souza was going to try to take him to the ground. He got back up every time, and he just wore him out. And he kept his attack relentless, and, he did a great job.
No one really believed in Rockhold despite his impressive resume thus far in his young career, but he did. At no point did he show any panic, even when he got rocked a few times by Jacare. He just wore him down. The more the fight went on, he had Jacare on the run.
I know he's going to be a great fighter because coming into this fight, I was a Jacare fan, and now I'm a Rockhold fan. And I'm curious to see what's going to happen when we get to it.
Well, Rockhold had dealt with a lot of injuries, and even his chief trainer, Javier Mendez, sort of wondered aloud if he was ready for that challenge. He certainly was, and the numbers tell the story as well. Rockhold throwing and landing about twice as many strikes as Jacare did. As we have a new Strikeforce middleweight champion, I guess the follow-up is, how high's the ceiling? I mean, this guy now a top 10 middleweight in the world?
He's top 10 for sure. Beating Jacare like that, I definitely say so.